Hello everybody, this is Khashar. Welcome to part 3 of Bookstore Manager with SQLite, Python and Tkinter. In the last video we finished our GUI, which I end up something like this. So now let's forget about the front end developing or GUI developing, and let's take care of our database. If you're familiar with SQLite, this could be very easy for you. If not, you can check on my another tutorial on SQLite. But anyway, you can follow along. It's not so complicated. So every time we are going to make or work with SQLite, if the file doesn't exist, we have to create the connection file. We have to format the data structure or create our tables and create a cursor, because we are going to execute some SQL commands, and we need to commit or confirm our commands if we change something in our database, and after we have to close the connection. So I'm going to write down these steps. The first thing is create a connection file, and the second one, if it's the first time, we need to create a table, or in other words, we need to format our data structure, and we need to create a cursor object, which we can execute some SQL language commands. So to execute SQL commands, and we need to commit any change if there is any change, or let's say confirm it. And at the end we need to close the connection. So it's pretty simple. And also the good thing about SQLite is standalone, and you can have your file, you can pass it through another database, or you can just even give it to someone. Like you can write the code and you can give the complete package to someone, and can start to use it. Alright. Now, as you remember in our front end, we have a bunch of commands which are our function. We need to connect to our database. Now we are going to do the same thing with our backend developing. So I'm going to make some functions, because for example we need to insert the data, we need to view the data, we need to have search, delete and update. But before we start to write all these functions, let's start with the first one, and it will be our creating our table. All right, so let's call it define connect, and here, as I said, first we need to create our connection object. So connection equal SQLite 3.connect, and here we have to pass a name of the external file, which is going to act as a connection file for us. So we call it books.db for database. So the way it's going to work, every time we call this function, it will check if the connection file is not there, it's going to create this file for us. If it's there, it's going to just connect to it. Okay, and the next thing, we need to create a cursor object, and the cursor equal con.cursor. So with cursor object we can execute some SQL commands here, and after, what we are going to do now, we need to create our table. If you watch my another tutorial on SQLite, in this part I try to check the file, if the file in physical file is existing on our hard drive. If there is a file, then the system going to skip this part. If not, it was going to create a table and format it for the first time. But now I'm going to use another method. So it will be like a cursor dot execute, and every time I'm going to, sorry, I got a message, it got distracted me. So every time you're executing any SQL commands, we have to use those commands as string. So, and as a convention, it's better to separate the commands and the names by upper and lower case. So here we are going to create table if not exists. So it will check on this table. If the table is not there, if we haven't formatted yet, it's going to format it for us by this way. We need to have, let's say, ID, and our ID will be integer and will be our primary key. And the primary key is what's a unique ID which we are going to give every element in our database. And we need to have the title, it will be text, and we will need to have author, of course it will be text. We need to have year, integer, and price will be integer, and that would be all. So if I run the command now, it's going to execute the cursor, but without confirm the execution or confirm the command. It's not going to apply any change. So now after what we done, we have to write connection dot commit, all right, and at the end dot close. So we are going according these steps here. So I'm going to call the function now, and I hope we don't have any problem. So connect, and when I come down here, I go to call my backend py, and I have oh, I have a very bad error because I forgot to import the Sqlite. So here is Sqlite 3. Never mind. Here is it. Again, I have one error. Again, I have one error. Where it can be my error? Yeah, the very bad error. Actually, I shouldn't forgot it. We forgot to give the table a name. So here we have to, if not exist, we have to name it. So this would be book. So we are saying the create a table if not exist, and that will be the name of the table will be book, which will hold the ID, unique primary key, and title, which is text, author, which is text, and year is integer, and price will be integer. And after commit the change and close the database, close the connection. So I'm going to run the program one more time. No, this time we didn't have any problem, and as you see, we have the books.db, which is our database file connection, is there. So the next step, before I start to insert something in our database, I want to create a view function. So every time we commit any change to our database, we can just call the view part, function. I can talk view function and see our change. So for view, define view, and here we again connection equal Sqlite 3 dot connect, and we are going to connect to books.db, and after we create our cursor object dot cursor, and now we need to execute some commands. And for executing for view our database, actually it's very easy. One of the it's the easiest part ever. So here we just say select and everything from book. Okay, now we are selecting everything from that exists in our connection database, our database file, which is book.db, and the way it's that this database is working is like rows and columns. So we can create a variable rows equal cursor dot fetch all, because if now we have we select, we have to display, we already have this we already have our data, but we need to find a way to display it. And the way we are going to display it, we are creating a variable here, and we are setting all these data to this variable, and we can just first of all we close it, and after we just say return rows. Okay, and here we can just use print view. Ooh. Print view, yeah, this way. So let's call it one more time. It's empty, as you see here. It means we have nothing inserted in our database. Okay, and also what I'm thinking, we can use this view every time we call any function, so we can pass this, we call this function inside another function. Alright, so let's now start with our very important function, which is insert. So I'm going to define insert, and it will be again equal Sqlite tree and connect, and again we are connecting to books.db, and after we again create our cursor equal dot cursor, and after cursor dot execute, which is a little bit not complicated, but we have to be careful here. So what we are going to insert in our database. So here now we can have cursor dot execute, and oh no, not there where I'm writing. I'm not writing. Cursor dot execute, and we need to insert to our database, right? So as I said, we have to use capital for our SQL commands. So here insert into where, into this table. So insert into book and values. So what we are saying is insert some values to this table, and the values, it's not clear now, but we have to use some placeholder for them. So the first one is null, which is for our ID primary key, and the second one will be for our title, and we can use question mark for placeholder, is better than percentage sign, and for author also, and for year, and for price. And after, we need to pass them here as parameters. So title, we have author, we have year, and we have price. All right, and after all we done here, we can dot commit this command, and we have to close it, close the connection. All right, now let's save it, and where I've been backend. Alright, we just have one empty database here. Then let's insert something there. So we can say insert, and as a parameter the name of the book, let's say, I don't know, something made up, chess by, I don't know, for let's say Kasparov, and the year I'm not sure, let's say 2000, and the price will be 250 with whatever currency you are using. Alright, and after again print the view so we can see if we got it correct. Yeah, alright, okay, then let's call this function. Okay, you see this is from first view, which is here, which was empty, and after we insert these values to our database, and the new view we have primary key will be 1, and the book name chess, the Kasparov is the author, and year of the publish or whatever 2000, and the price is 250 with whatever currency you are using. Alright, so what next? Should we take care of the delete function now? Let's take care of delete function. Define delete, and we can delete by, I'm not sure, we can try to delete with ID, primary key, or we should delete by name or any other part of our database. I don't know, but I think we can try with ID for now. So again, connection equals Sqlite 3 dot connect, and again cursor equal dot cursor and cursor dot execute. What we have to execute, we have to write delete from which table? Book, where ID equal something, right? Like a placeholder, and after we have to pass the ID here. And every time you are passing the ID, you have to just separate it with comma. And after connection dot commit and connection dot close. Oh, I think my neighbors, they have some party or something. Anyway, here is very crowded today. It's Saturday and outside is freezing, maybe minus 16 or 20, which is kind of good for here, but anyway, it's nothing to do mostly outside, so we have to do something inside. Then so let's delete something. So let's say delete delete ID number 1, and after print view. Let's see if it works. Actually, let me import the time module here. Time that time import time, not this one, and here I can have some kind of delay between them, and we don't want to insert one more time this book here. Then also I can print view and time that sleep, let's say 2 seconds, and after we will delete something if we will have no problem, no error. Again, this is Kasparov. After delete function missing recurring argument database position 1. Alright, let's see what is this. Yes, because I stupidly forgot to connect to my database.db. I hope we don't have any more typo or problem. I'm kind of, I don't know, kind of foggy today. Also outside is very foggy. So all right, now as you see, we had this book in our database, and after we could delete it. So the delete function is kind of working. I think it's enough for this video. I think we will have two more videos. The first one I will continue with developing the backend, and the last one we have to connect these two files, which is our backend and front end, by this function, which are empty here. Okay, so that would be it for today. Sorry, I had a lot of mistakes today, but anyway. So if you like my videos, tutorials, please subscribe and hit the like button, and I see you in next video. Thanks for watching.